Aloha, it is Dave Lawrence, and big mahalo for tuning in and catching this. I have a very special opportunity here. I just got to watch Jimmy Cliff play, and now I'm sitting with him and going to talk a little story. Aloha and mahalo, my brother. Thank you for following up our phone call with this. I appreciate it.
Mahalo, and it's a thrill to be here with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. What a nice thing to say. You and I, sometimes when I do a phone interview, I like to try to analyze it and then go from there with stuff maybe I didn't cover. And we dug into the new record a little bit, and we talked a little bit about, sort of like you made some revelations to me. One of them was you talked about how you made this leap from reggae. You took a musical journey to Muscle Shoals in Alabama, and then the Rebirth record is in so many ways like a return for you. So I wanted to know what inspired you to go to Muscle Shoals in Alabama to record another cycle to begin with.
I always had this global outlook on music. Growing up in Jamaica, we were exposed to all different forms of music. So besides the indigenous music of Jamaica, there were other music forms that were part of my being, like Cuban music, Latino music. We call it Cuban music, but it was not just Cuba. It was all the Latino music. And country and western music, of course, R&B and jazz and all of them. So Chris Blackwell at Island Records suggested that, hey, why don't you go to Muscle Shoals and just do a different kind of record? And just like, wow, what an idea. And that was it. I was down.
Just out of the blue, I mean, and Muscle Shoals was really happening then too.
Yeah, right. So, and he had... he liked various kind of music too. I mean, because so he just out of the blue made that suggestion, and I said, yeah, what a great idea. And I started writing some songs, and Sitting in Limbo was one of the songs.
That is the one I was going to ask you about next. It's my boss Bill's favorite song of yours, and it's one of those tunes that possibly, like a lot of your songs, when you're having moments of doubt, there are so many times in our life as fans that we turn to songs to get us through tough times, and that is a song that I think a lot of people might have that sentiment about. When you were constructing it, what was the vibration?
It was, the song is true to itself. It was the energy I was feeling at the time, the place of kind of emptiness without surrounding. However, I just couldn't give up hope that, fate will, get you out of the situation. So that was the energy that brought about that song.
Is there anything that sticks with you about going there to do the record in that unusual place? I'm sure Chris probably picked it because maybe the session people were so hot. I know one of them was on that, Jimmy Johnson, I believe it was. He was one of the real badasses who jammed with you.
Well, I'll tell you something. Chris had not met either of those guys before. He just knew the sound from Muscle Shoals and say, he's always loved that sound. So, I don't know who else he could have said, why don't you go down there? Of all the people that had been on Island at the time, I guess I was the only one who open to music forms. They said, why don't you go down there? So he had not met them. So I tell you one surprising thing. When we got there, myself and Chris and all of us got there, we were surprised that they were all Caucasian.
Because they don't sound like that.
Not at all. Chris looked at me, I look at him, so, okay, let's get it on. And it was, the result, it was fantastic.
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, I can imagine the surprise heading in there and finding that. I actually just did an interview. Jimmy Buffett played here, and Michael Utley, his music director and keyboardist, he did a session with you so many years ago, and he was telling stories about doing one of those really early Island sessions with you. And he's a white boy too. He had some good stories.
Yeah, but the music is like oxygen for us all, and so everybody breathes oxygen, and so that's what music is, it's for everyone, that's what it is.
Yeah, brother. St. James, Jamaica. as a place to grow up? What was it like, and how do you look at that as a place that shaped you and the guy that you are today?
Well, St. James, particularly Somerton, St. James was my part, and looking in hindsight now, it was paradise, because we had this great river. We would go and swim. We would go to in the bush. With friends, we would sit and we would cook and we would eat. And I never realized how great it was at that time. And just looking back at it now, it was real paradise. I mean, and when I went to Montego Bay, it was just 12 miles from Montego Bay, and I see, all of the crowd, the people, the cars, and all the horns. It was really a shock for me. But the biggest shock of all was when I went to Kingston. So, growing up in St. James in the country part, it was really paradise. Looking back at it now.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I've been to Jamaica once, so I know a little bit of the hustle and bustle, not St. James, but I know what Mo Bay is like. When we were speaking, you mentioned that you still live in Jamaica, and where do you live in Jamaica today?
So I still have a home in Somerton, in my village there, but I also have a home in Kingston. So I live between the two places. Kingston is the, business place and all of that. So I need to be in two places. But I still have my friends, old friends and new friends in Somerton. That's the place I can go and wind and become James again. So I didn't know me. They still call me James.
Really?
Yeah.
So the people from your youth?
Yeah, from my youth and their children say, oh, it's Mr. Chambers' son. Mr. Chambers' son. Is this James? But still call me James.
So a place in the city, place in the country, both. And how much time are you in Jamaica versus, do you have another residence outside of Jamaica?
Yeah, I have a residence in Paris. So, I do spend a lot of time in Paris too. And for the fact that I'm on the road so often, I don't spend enough time especially in Somerton, as I would like to. But I don't know what the future might hold, but it's such a great place. I love it still.
When you say that, is there a connection to, there must be something about being genuine and the roots of sort of the mana, as we say in Hawaii, the magic that brought you to the success, that you feel like when you're in that place, I need to spend more time here to reconnect with that thing.
Reconnect is the right word. That energy, all of it came back. I mean, all where my thoughts were formulated, that same little one-room shop where my father was a tailor in, is there still. And I go back and I sit on the step again to feel all of that energy. It's very important, very, very important.
Wow, I can see why you've made it like a sort of a communion to you. Flashing forward, something that a lot of people, it's provided you a lot of visibility at the time, and I wonder what your recollections are of it now. Club Paradise with Robin Williams and Peter O'Toole. Are there highlights? Do you remember it fondly?
Oh, very fondly. I mean, Robin Williams was hilarious. It was never a dull moment making that movie. And, Peter O'Toole is kind of a fun guy too. One would not have thought that he's such a fun guy. And so, he had all that crew of all of those comics and comedian on that. So it was big fun making that movie. But also I learned a lot. I learned a lot from all the people that I work with there, yeah.
Things beyond the screen, just things about, what are the kinds of things?
Well, things are artistically as an artist, because I would watch Peter O'Toole when he does his takes. If he had to do a take 10 times, he would do it the same way every time. And that was, for me, amazing. He'd walk into the room and he'd do the take. He'd do the same way every time. It was pretty amazing, as opposed to someone like Robin Williams, who would, if he has to do a take 10 times, it's 10 different kind of takes, because he ad-libs.
Improvises everything.
Improvises and that. So I learned a lot from all of them. So it was great for me as an artist. as an actor.
As we're in that 40-year anniversary mode, it's of Harder They Come, and I know there's talk about different ways of sort of acknowledging that milestone. Are there experiences in making the film that stick with you, that when you think back to it, you're like, man, I really remember that one time, that was a really difficult moment? Or like you mentioned with Robin Williams and especially Peter O'Toole, perhaps lessons that were gained from that experience?
Well, seeing that it was my first full-length film, we were using just one camera. And for me, it was normal. I didn't understand. So, you set up one shot and you do the shot. In the next shot that matches it, you set up the other shot. You have to sit and wait. So what I did during takes, more than when I did Club Paradise, was I wrote a lot of songs. During the time, if you have to sit down and wait for 3 hours for them to set up the next take, I wrote a lot of songs during that, and it was a great lesson for me as an actor, because acting was my first love, and when the opportunity came, I jumped at it. But again, we didn't have much money, so they had to stop and start and stop and start. When you run out of money, they stop and try to get some more money and start again, and all of that. But wasn't something I considered unusual at the time, because it was my first movie. So I learned a lot, as an actor, and being something that I'd always wanted to do.
And as a final question for you, I really value your time too. I really, really appreciate you being willing to follow up our interview on HPR. You had a remarkable statement about the spiritual evolution of your life, the doors you have walked through. Not many people as an artist can say they have touched on all those different religions and spiritual faiths. Do you have any advice that you've picked up regarding how to live a happy, meaningful life that maybe you picked up from one of those doors? Just something that you would want to pass on to your fans and to people who value the things that you say.
Basically, what we are all looking for in life is really to find who we are. We have what we are, is what you become. Maybe you can say, I am Jewish, I am a Christian, I am a Muslim, I am Hindu, or that. That is what you are, what you've become. But who you are is the important thing, as a being that you are. And you may get some pointers from all of these different religions or philosophies, but what we're really searching for is to find who we are. And once you find who you are, that's happiness.
Everything falls into place.
Yes.
Hey, bro, I appreciate it, and I hope this wasn't a hassle. Thank you very much for being willing to do this, and I wish you nothing but good things, brother.
I'm glad you followed up, so thank you as well.
Good man. Aloha, Brother Jimmy.
Aloha.